What's going on, guys? Ted from Immersion here, and I'm back with another Unearthed Arcana review. This time we have what they're calling a trio of subclasses. Also, I think this is the first time we ever hear the term officially from Wizards of the Coast, subclass. I've used subclass a lot here on the channel, and you've heard me say fighter subclass, wizard subclass, things like that. I think this is the first official time we're actually hearing it referred to that. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We got three subclasses for three different professions. We've got the monk, the paladin, and the ranger. So I'll just jump right into it. The monk is one of my all-time favorite monk classes. It's also my personal favorite style of like kung fu movies, Jackie Chan style, the way of the Drunken Master. I've seen a lot of homebrew for this. I have fond memories of playing one as a prestige class back in 3.5. How do I think this one stacks up? A little bit of an opinion. It's good. It has some really powerful stuff towards the end. I don't know, one of my little favorite things is I always like the Drunken Master kind of drinking and spewing fire as a thing, like they're breathing out the spirits and they kind of breathe fire. Give a monk a little bit of a ranged attack. But let's talk about what they get. So, level 3, as soon as you take this, you get Drunken Technique. You gain proficiency in performance. Makes sense, because you're kind of, moving all around. This is huge. Whenever you use your Flurry of Blows, you gain the benefit of the Disengage action, and your walking speed increases by 10 feet until the end of your current turn. That's huge, because Flurry of Blow is one key point to do, to do 2 extra attacks, and you could then, that gives you the ability to move through. I mean, again, you're already a monk with massively increased speed over every other class to begin with. You're getting an additional 10 feet until the end of that turn. But as you're moving around, you can hit this guy, and then your buddy might have hit somebody else, and you want to, move through, stagger through, I guess, because you're a Drunken Master, to hit somebody else to try to take out the most people to lessen the numbers for the fight going forward. At 6, you kind of get what I was talking about there, the Tipsy Sway. As a reaction, when an enemy misses you with a melee attack, you can cause that attack to hit one other creature of your choice other than the attacker. So this is, you're kind of swaying, so somebody goes to punch you, and you're kind of like, whoop, and you redirect them so they punch somebody else. Sorry, my chair keeps clicking. But they have to still be within 5 feet of you, and this is once per short or long rest. At 11th level, you get Drunkard's Luck. When you make a saving throw, you can spend a key point to give yourself advantage. You have to do so before you roll, but that's an always on. That's not limited. As long as you have key points, you can do that. And lastly, the crazy ability, Intoxicated Frenzy. When you use your Flurry of Blows, you can make up to 3 additional attacks on top of the 2 you already have, so that's 5 attacks total, provided that each Flurry of Blows attacks target different. Each Flurry of Blows attack targets a different creature this turn. So basically, this is Flurry of Blows on top of your regular 2 attacks, so you can attack somebody twice, go into an Intoxicated Frenzy, and if you're surrounded or there's 5 guys, remember, you can move with Disengage, and you have an extra 10 feet. As long as you can hit 5 different enemies, you can hit 5 additional enemies. Again, that first one that you hit twice with your regular attack and your extra attack can be the target of 1 Flurry of Blows, and then the remaining 4 hit 4 other enemies. That is a powerful ability, but also balanced in that there has to be a minimum of 5 enemies for that to work. And you also have to be able to get to them. But again, if you have Disengage as an option whenever you Flurry of Blows, you can move around the battlefield and try to hit. Especially at 17th level and the increased movement speed, you're going to have a lot of ability to move around the floor, especially because you'll be able to run up walls and things like that and across water. So, I don't know. I like it. I think it's pretty cool. Would I play this? I'm playing a monk right now, and I'm kind of going the Oath of Tranquility. That was less a character design and more a crunchy mechanics because of the fact that Way of Tranquility gets basically 10, as opposed to 5 times, like a paladin's lay on hands. So it added additional healing to our party. So that was sort of my thought behind that. And I kind of like role-playing it out now. I got it as, I picked it as mechanics, and now I'm playing it more, role-playing into the mechanic. Also, Way of the Drunken Master for role-playing. Sounds like a blast. Not that I'm going to encourage players to drink during their D&D game, but you could always try to tell, hey, DM, I'm just getting into character. Moving on to the Oath of Redemption. I love this class, too. It is a paladin who is not a non-violent paladin, one who is always seeking a way to redeem people that have kind of strayed from the path. It does go on to say, which is important for stickler people, that they recognize that certain creatures, undead, demons, devils, etc., supernatural things, are evil and that they need to be dealt with accordingly. However, in their mind's eye, the ultimate goal would be for even creatures such as that to kind of move on and redeem themselves. And why do I like this? We'll talk about it. First of all, you've got your tenets here: peace, innocence, patience, and wisdom. And then your spells. First of all, shield as a domain spell, so it means you always have it prepared. A paladin with shield is crazy because you still have options for your armor and things like that. Sleep, also an extremely useful low-level utility, even a higher level, especially if you're trying to redeem people and not in a violent sense. Putting people to sleep is a way to get around that. As is Hold Person. Ray of Enfeeblement sort of fits into that thematic as well. Counterspell, great spell to get on any class. On a paladin, not going to say you may be using your spells for smite, but a clutch counterspell is clutch nonetheless. Hypnotic Pattern, I feel like that one's a little bit out there. Depending on the creative use you have and your DM allows you to do, you can get a lot of use out of that, but I feel like it's the kind of the outlier. Odalix Resilient Sphere, putting people in a hamster ball, putting yourself in a hamster ball, a good way to non-violently deal with people, as is Stone Skin for yourself. Again, Hold Monster, same situation, and Wall of Force. Thank you, Sid Max. This is a video, but thank you for the follow. Popped up mid-video since I'm using OBS to do the recording. And Wall of Force, again, another powerful way to keep people back. So, crazy thing, because I've been talking about doing this for a long time. Armor of Peace. This is your first way to get a true... let me rephrase. You can get a Dexterity Paladin and play a Dexterity Paladin in the game as it stands. This allows you to do it even better. While not wearing armor or wearing a shield, your base AC is 16 plus your dexterity modifier. So that right there means if you raise your dex to 20 over the course of your time as a paladin, you will have a 21 AC. That is technically 1 point better than a standard plate mail plus shield paladin would be with their AC of 20. You also get the option to get Bracers of Defense to boost that up by a little bit more, and you have access to shield to just add a flat +5 when you need it. Also, kind of fitting in the theme, Warrior of Reconciliation. While wielding a simple weapon that deals bludgeoning damage, you gain a special benefit if you reduce a creature to 0 hit points with that weapon and decide to spare their life. Instead of falling unconscious, the creature is charmed by you for a minute. During that time, they are peaceful and docile, refusing to move or take actions or reactions unless you command them to. You can't order the creature to attack, force someone to make a saving throw, or cause damage to itself or others. This charmed effect ends early if you're incapacitated or if you or your companions attack the creature, deal damage to it, or force it to make a saving throw. When the effect ends, the creature falls unconscious if it is still at 0 hit points. And the thought behind simple tools and simple weapons is that this is sort of the everyman paladin. You're not here to be wielding, shining, gleaming plate armor and a massive sword and a crazy shield. And again, you don't necessarily have to worship a god to be a paladin. You can, and I feel like a lot of people think that, but the way the oaths are designed in 5e, you don't necessarily have to worship a deity. This, I feel like, is one of the ones that could have that, but also it would make a lot of sense if not, because you're just, your tenets and your oath are redeeming people. You don't necessarily have to do that in the service of a god. Anyway, move on. So, Channel Divinity, again, another option. You get another thing at 3rd level. I think this is the most things a Paladin in a current game gets all at the start of their subclass. Emissary of Peace. You can use your Channel Divinity as a bonus action to grant yourself a +5 on the next persuasion check you make within the next minute. Rebuke the Violent. As a reaction, when an enemy within 10 feet of you deals damage with a melee attack against one creature other than you, you can force them to make a Wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the attacker takes radiant damage equal to the damage it just dealt. On a successful save, it takes half as much. That's nice. Reaction and bonus action use for a Paladin. Great. Aura of the Guardian seems relatively similar to the kind of ability that a Oath of the Crown Paladin gets from the Sword Coast Adventure Guide. As a reaction, when an ally within 10 feet of you takes damage, you instead magically take that damage. This feature doesn't transfer any effects that might accompany the damage. Also, specifically, it doesn't say that that damage can't be lowered by any means. So, in my mind, if your friend is going to get hit with a firebolt, and let's say you're a tiefling paladin going down the road of redemption, trying to help redeem others as you're overcoming this stigma about your race, and they get hit with a firebolt, and you choose to take the damage, you're resistant to that damage, so you're going to take half of that. Same thing with if you somehow, if you decided to not go with Armor of Peace and had adamantine armor, and your ally got a crit, you could take that damage, and it would technically just be the normal damage, because it's not specifically called out. Normally, I wouldn't say that, except in the Oath of the Crown, it specifically states that this damage can't be lowered by any means. At 15th level, you will get Protective Spirit. You regain hit points equal to 1d6 plus half your Paladin level if you end your turn in combat with fewer than half of your hit points remaining and you aren't incapacitated. So again, that keeps you in the fight to keep you protecting. That synergizes very well with Aura of the Guardian. You're taking damage for your allies, but you're also healing yourself each turn. And lastly, Emissary of Redemption, your 20th level capstone kind of avatar state that you go into. You go into the Avatar of Peace. You have resistance to all damage dealt by other creatures, regardless of what it is, spells, attacks, and otherwise. And whenever a creature damages you, it takes damage equal to half the amount it dealt you. If you attack a creature, deal damage to it, or force it to make a saving throw, either benefit works against the creature until you finish a long rest. Or neither benefit works against that creature until you finish a long rest. However, if you attack a creature, deal damage to it, or force it to make a saving throw, neither benefit works against that creature until you finish a long rest. Oh, I'm sorry. Neither of these benefits. Resistance to all damage, and whenever they deal damage to you, they take half. That doesn't work if you attack, deal damage. However, my biggest issue is technically, per what's written, this is unlimited use. This isn't an avatar act. This is just a thing that's always on. I didn't read that and realize that till I started reading through it just now. Normally, the other abilities for all of the other paladins are you kind of enter this enhanced state for a minute or whatever it might be, or an hour in some cases, but then this is once per short, or in most cases once per long rest. This, however, is just a constant, always-on thing by the way it's designed here. So, yeah, that's huge at level 20. Again, it's a capstone level 20 ability, and maybe they're toying around with things like this, realizing that level 20 is a really powerful level. You're fighting gods, you're fighting Tarrasques, you're fighting all sorts of crazy stuff. You should have pretty powerful abilities. And lastly is the Monster Slayer. If this sounds familiar, it's because the Monster Slayer in previous release was a fighter archetype. And now they're trying to remake it as a ranger archetype. I feel like it sort of fits the ranger a little bit more with the whole favorite enemy thing, but let's go into it. So Slayer's Mysticism, you get access to spells. They count as ranger spells and don't count against spells that you know. Protection from good and evil, Zone of Truth, Magic Circle, Banishment, Planar Binding. Nothing too crazy. Good spells to have. Protection from good and evil, Zone of Truth, Banishment, Planar Binding, even Magic Circle too. They're all like, they're utility spells. But when you want them and don't have them, it's a bad day. But that's good to have. Protection from good and evil, probably, and Zone of Truth getting, I would say, the most use on the everyday. Slayer's Eye is your other 3rd level ability. As a bonus action, you choose a creature you can see within 120 feet, and this Slayer's Eye feature is going to impact everything else that we're going to talk about. You pick a creature within 120 feet. You basically are marking them. You learn their vulnerabilities, their immunities, and their resistances. You also learn any special effects triggered when they take damage, such as how fire damage halts regeneration for a troll, let's say. In addition, the first time each turn you hit the target with a weapon attack, the target takes an extra d6 from that weapon. This benefit lasts until you target a different creature with this feature or until you finish a short or long rest. So this is high single target damage and single target abilities once per short rest. If you're using the Revised Ranger, you get 2 attacks. At 7th level, you get Supernatural Defense. Whenever the target of your Slayer's Eye forces you to make a saving throw, you add 1d6 to your saving throw roll. At 11th level, you get Relentless Slayer. If the target of your Slayer's Eye attempts to teleport, change its shape, travel through a different plane of existence, or turn gaseous, you can use your reaction to force them to make a wisdom check. So that's a check, not adding proficiency, just d20 plus your wisdom modifier, contested by a wisdom check made by the target. To use this ability, you must be able to see the target and need to be within 30 feet of it. If you succeed, you foil its attempt, causing it to waste the action, bonus action, or reaction it used. So it's just whatever it did to try to teleport. And lastly, at 15, Slayer's Counter. If the target of your Slayer's Eye forces you to make a saving throw, you can use your reaction to make one weapon attack against it. You make this attack immediately before making the saving throw. If the attack hits, your save automatically succeeds in addition to the attack's normal effects. I feel like that's the least... it's cool concept, the enhancing... and this is sort of almost like this Slayer's Eye is sort of almost like making Hunter's Mark a class feature. I know a lot of people have kind of said, why don't we just make Hunter's Mark a feature, or add Hunter's Mark damage to, as part of the favorite enemy, although now we have it as bonus damage in the Revised Ranger. I feel like that's where it's going, but I do feel like this is the weakest of the 3. As far as, just the concept seems kind of, it could have been done better, especially if you could have just called it, enhanced, or give them additional favorite enemies would have been a cool concept. I'm not a huge fan of the Monster Slayer Ranger. Monster Slayer Fighter, I love. Monster Slayer Ranger, not so much. I love the Oath of Redemption. I like the idea of a dexterity-based paladin, kind of the old guy who walks along with his quarterstaff, and that's his, his weapon, and he has a crazy AC because he's got the armor of peace surrounding him. And I mean, how can you not like Way of the Drunken Master? Like I said, not my favorite iteration of it, even in the homebrew stuff I've seen, but I would have never thought to give somebody 5 attacks and flurry of blows also being disengaged. That's huge, because that gives you a lot of options. Even if you flurry of blows, hit 2 guys, and then you're like, well, whatever, I'm out. You can essentially do 4 attacks on a turn and then still disengage. And because you're a monk, your speed's increased, and you still get the bonus 10 feet. So, anyway, guys, let me know what you think about this Unearthed Arcana, a trio of subclasses. Do you like these? Which one do you like the best? Do you think they could do better? What would you like to see next? Personally, I'm not really sure what I want to see. These are actually kind of just like a little treat to me every week when we get these. Way of the Drunken Master is something I kind of wanted to see. I personally like dragon-based stuff. I think everybody does to some degree. So I'd like to see more dragon. I think a dragon patron for a warlock would be kind of cool. I've been saying that before. I'm going to keep saying it because I think it's a neat idea. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I will see you next time.